Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into a story today that casts a long, dark shadow. You know how the news cycle works, right? Usually events briefly capture our collective attention and then just kind of fade into the background. But some stories, they absolutely refuse to fade away. They linger, they demand our attention, and honestly, they force us to confront some incredibly difficult realities about the world we live in.
There's this saying that hits the nail on the head for what we're tackling today. Some stories disappear with time. Others continue to raise difficult questions. Today, we are going to unpack the incredibly complex layers of the Jeffrey Epstein case. We'll be relying on the source files to map out a story involving extreme wealth, devastating criminal abuse, and the ongoing and, let's be real, often frustrating search for the truth.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the illusion of power.
To really grasp how this entire case evolved, we first have to understand the world Jeffrey Epstein constructed. He didn't just have money, okay? He built this glittering, almost cinematic facade of extraordinary wealth and untouchable influence. He was actively rubbing shoulders with business leaders, global celebrities, high-profile academics, and prominent politicians. By surrounding himself with these powerful groups, he essentially built a fortress. These connections were like an impenetrable shield, helping him project a public image that seemed completely untouchable to the outside world.
But here's the thing about illusions. Eventually they shatter. Behind all the private jets and the elite skylines lay a very dark reality that investigators were quietly starting to piece together. That immense wealth and those elite circles were ultimately just a facade masking grave allegations, intense investigations, and serious criminal charges that were about to bring the whole shebang crashing down.
Which brings us to Section 2, Uncovering the Crimes.
We really need to pause here and acknowledge the absolute gravity of what was happening behind that curtain of wealth. The source material makes this point incredibly clear. Over many years, numerous young women came forward with allegations of horrific sexual abuse and exploitation. It was these brave individuals taking that massive, terrifying step to speak out that ultimately broke the facade. Their voices are what forced the criminal justice system to look past the elite connections and finally take decisive action.
That leads us directly into Section 3, the victim's courage.
You know, when you're looking at a case with this many famous names and staggering dollar amounts, it's so easy to get lost in the spectacle of it all. But we have to fundamentally refocus on the human element here. At the very heart of this story are the victims, period. If they hadn't possessed the immense courage to speak out and expose those years of hidden abuse, the illusion of power might literally never have been broken. They were the ultimate catalyst for bringing these deeply buried secrets into the light.
There's a line from the source material that profoundly notes their fight for justice became the most important chapter of the entire case. Beyond the sensationalized headlines and way beyond the celebrity associations, this pursuit of justice by the victims is the core narrative we must remember. It's the anchor of truth in a massive sea of noise.
Moving on to Section 4, Following the Evidence.
So, once the victims came forward, the mechanics of the investigation kicked into high gear. Detectives, lawyers, the courts, they generated a massive, undeniable paper trail. We're talking about thousands of pages of court records and countless witness statements. Crucially, it's this exact mix of public transparency combined with sealed or partially released legal documents that continues to fuel so much intense public interest, debate, and, let's be honest, frustration today. And that takes us to Section 5, Facts versus Speculation.
Because of those sealed documents and the high-profile nature of the case, the internet has become absolutely flooded with theories. They spread like wildfire. But in cases of this magnitude, where the stakes are this incredibly high, there's a hard dividing line. Verified evidence and court records must always come before unverified internet speculation. As focused learners, it's our job to meticulously separate the actual truth from the surrounding noise. We have to follow the documents, not the digital hearsay.
Ultimately, the Epstein case is not just about one man. It serves as a stark reminder of what the justice system fundamentally requires to even function. It relies entirely on three pillars: accountability for those who commit crimes, transparency in the investigative process, and above all, the courage of victims to come forward.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Many questions still remain about this case, for sure. But moving forward, will the search for truth continue to rely firmly on the evidence, or will it get completely lost in endless speculation? What does true justice actually require of us today? The answers, no matter how complex they might be, must always remain grounded in facts.
I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought from the source material.
It's a reminder of why we look into the shadows in the first place. The truth doesn't fear investigation. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep seeking the facts.